Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and I'm appearing before you right now because, okay, I'm fangirling. I had to give sis her props. Um, okay, Angela Yee just purchased. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Angela Yee just purchased a 30 unit building in Detroit, and the 30 unit building in Detroit is being renovated as of right now for formerly incarcerated women. She has lofts to one bedroom to two bedroom um, apartment units within this building. And then she's going to be expanding and she's going to be having something going on for the community on an empty lot that is across the street. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Taking what you have, taking your personal fortune, your personal legacy, and pouring it back into the community. Because let me tell you something, a lot of people don't think about incarcerated women. In fact, the first person that was a celebrity that opened up my eyes to incarcerated women was the comedian Monique. Monique, when she did that special back in the day, and she went to the women's prison and did that special, I was a kid, right? But that really like touched me. That really spoke to me. And from then on, I had always said, and I definitely am going to do this, but I had already said like I want to give back to women who are in prison. I want to give back to women who are incarcerated. And the reason being is because when men go to jail, they get conjugal visits. When men go to jail, they get their mama come and visit them, the wife visit them, the girlfriend visit them, the baby mama visit them. Everybody visits, not every man gets somebody to visit them, but it be, I don't know about anywhere else, but in California, it be lines wrapped around the jail because that's how many visitors that these men are getting. And I think that's a admirable, beautiful thing to be able to support your loved one, because not everybody who is incarcerated is guilty. And not everybody who is incarcerated is a wild animal. Some people are victim of circumstances. Some people made mistakes and were a product of their environment. Some people were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Some people were too young to be able to fathom and understand that I shouldn't be out here doing this. But at the same time, because they were a product of their environment and there wasn't any legislation being voted in to try to clean up their neighborhood, there wasn't any mentors that were coming in that was trying to uplift the youth because the mentors or the old heads was dying out at the age of 35 years old. Some young men and women did not have a choice but to do what they had to do and sell paraphernalia in order to keep from starving. So I don't stigmatize people who are in prison. Some people are in prison right now because of some things that happened to them in the metaphysical that they had no clue about, couldn't do anything about, and because things were orchestrated against them in the metaphysical, it landed them in a bad situation in the material. But through the material imprisonment that they were in, it allowed them to have freedom and find God and get closer to God. They found discipline. Some people went to prison and they found peace for the first time. So I don't hold anything against anybody who's in prison because you never know. There's a lot of people in prison who wrong place, wrong time. There's also people in prison who shouldn't have been in prison, who should be exonerated, who got set up. And then there's some people in prison because they're right where they should be. Because if you do the crime, you gotta do the time. I don't have a heaven or a hell to put anybody in. But what I will say is the amount of men who get support while behind bars versus the ratio of women who get support behind bars, which a lot of women who go to jail, go to prison. I'm not talking about county jail, I'm talking about prison. I'm talking about penitentiary, prison. Women who go to prison, you got to think a lot of them still have babies. Some of them have babies while they're in prison and have to take care of their children while incarcerated and have to work jobs for corporations behind bars, and their entire check go to their kids, as it should. Nobody comes out and sees about the women. And I want to say Monique the comedian was the first one that I saw that actually thought about the women who were in prison. And she did that show. I'm on Google right now. Right, Monique said I could have been your cellmate. 2007, and she came out there, and when she came out there, she came out there at all orange. She went to the Ohio Reformatory for Women. And she was compared to the likes of Johnny Cash, who went to Folsom Prison. And not only Johnny Cash, but there was also B.B. King, who he constantly went out there and showed love to people in prison. But Monique showed love to the women, and she named her special, I could have been your cellmate. How many of us ladies were almost that close to the edge where we could have been somebody's cellmate? We've all had those moments. If it wasn't for the grace of God being on our life and meditation and breath work and us keeping it together, for all the atrocities, for all the trauma that we go through, for all the humiliation and the ridicule that you go through as a woman, for all the times that you've been railroaded, knocked in the corner, not just by men, but by other women, trying to set you up, trying to have it to where you don't have a space to be able to tell your story. You don't have a space to be able to express what's going on with you. And when you do express it, people just automatically categorize you as angry and aggressive, especially if you're a minority. Or if you're a white woman, they want to typecast you as poor white trash. If you're an Asian woman, they want to try to automatically categorize you as a prostitute. Societal labels not only confine people to a social prison, but when you try to stamp and force those labels into people's lives, whether it be metaphysically or in the natural, at that point, you are forcing people to be in a mind state where they got to do any and everything to be free. And unfortunately, some women are led down the path to being in a penitentiary, to being in prison. Domestic violence issues where a woman just lost her morals because she couldn't take the abuse anymore. And because it was a crime of passion where she temporarily went insane because a man was coming in, or either another woman, whoever, or a relative, a father, a mother was coming in and constantly abusing her, constantly giving her psychological runarounds, draining her of her energy, putting her in positions where she's not able to express herself, she's not seen, she's not heard, she's an object of sexual gratification. Not because she's in control of her own sexuality, but because her sexuality is at the beck and whim of whoever's got the biggest wallet, male or female. That breaks a person's psyche. Because at that point, you are letting somebody know you are property. You don't matter. You're property. I own you. I don't go into details about my own testimony, but it'll come out. What don't come out in the wash definitely comes out in the rinse. And God is definitely a revealer. But I want to shout out to Angela Yee for taking her hard-earned coins and opening up a 30 unit building in Detroit at that, for formerly incarcerated women. Not only is she a 30 unit building, not only is she investing in the city of Detroit, pouring back into Detroit, trying to put Detroit back on the map. Detroit was the motor city capital of the country, of really the world. And for Detroit to be as, oh my God, dilapidated as it's been for the last 10, 15 years, 30 years, this is sad. America really do got a problem. Why has Detroit been dilapidated for that long? Detroit needs new roads. Detroit needs clean water. Detroit needs nice neighborhoods. Detroit needs crime cleaned up. Detroit needs drugs cleaned up. Detroit needs a lot of help. And sometimes you can't leave it up to city officials. Sometimes you can't leave it up to an entire state. Sometimes this is something that's on a national, on a federal level. And big ups to Angela Yee, who's going in there. JFK said, ask not what your country could do for you, but for what you could do for your country. This woman is stepping up her game, and I have to applaud that because women who are incarcerated are close to my heart. Because let me tell you something. You talking about making some change. Women who are incarcerated, they need prayer. They need yoga. They need meditation. They need a word of inspiration. I don't care how many times you fall. I don't care who denies you. I don't care who shuts the door on your face. I don't care what doesn't work out for you. You got to keep going. You got to know that if God be for you, who? Women who are incarcerated, they need a glimmer of hope. And when they come out of incarceration, most of them don't have nowhere to go. When a man comes out of incarceration, most of the time he got a woman's sofa or a bed to go to. I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying that sometimes the disparity between how we take care of men, especially in our community, and in the Black and Latino community especially, how we take care of our men versus how we take care of our women is two different things. So for incarcerated women to be able to have a place to go to call home after they get out of prison, that's real. Most of these women have babies. They got kids. Ain't nobody giving you no job and you have a rap sheet. I'm sorry. But jobs don't have to hire you, especially if you got a history of violence on your rap sheet. And let's talk about it too. People don't be having a history of violence. What's violent is the way that this government abandoned cities like Detroit. That's gross negligence. How do you allow for city and government officials to run away with the commonwealth of the city for the people? Why are you not bringing tech companies to Detroit? Why are you not bringing factories back to Detroit? Let me look up something real quick. Detroit is sitting on, okay, the Detroit River. It forms a boundary between West Michigan and East Ontario, Canada. And it connects to Lake St. Clair and the end of Lake Erie. Why am I looking up bodies of water? Why am I talking about this? Because usually when there's a body of water around a city or any place, that's usually an area of opportunity in the environment where there can be cargo or trade. Usually that's how that works. And I'm looking to see, because I'm not familiar with Detroit other than all the bad stuff that we hear around the country. I'm tired of hearing about the bad stuff. Yeah, Detroit is surrounded by a Great Lake. Okay, so it's surrounded by a lake, but still, there's opportunity. The Detroit River between U.S. and Canada? Why don't we have embargo or any kind of trade that's going on between the U.S. and Canada that Detroit can benefit from? Why can't we knock out foreign policy and the national deficit by bringing in some sort of relationship and some sort of enterprise between America and Canada? I'm pretty sure somebody in Ontario, somebody in Canada has some sort of business that they can run that they need to be able to transport goods, maybe by ferry or boat or whatever, to America, and somebody in some sort of shipping dock or port in Detroit can be able to receive it and further transport it on trucks. I don't know anything about the history of Detroit other than the bad stuff that we hear and the amazing music and the amazing artists that come from Detroit. And I know about the amazing motor city that it was in the height of its enterprise. I know about yesteryear when it comes to Detroit. But people like Angela Yee are doing things today. This is what you're supposed to be using your star power for. This is what you're supposed to be doing with the income that you